They said I was losing it. That I was imagining things that weren't there. The whispers in the hallway, the footsteps at night. Even my daughter, my sweet Anna, told everyone her mother was crazy. I tried to ignore the laughter, the pitying looks, the silence that followed me through my own house. But I wasn't imagining it. No, I heard something. Something that didn't belong. So, one night, I placed a recorder under her door. And when I pressed play the next morning, the truth broke me in ways I can't describe. But before I continue, make sure you're subscribed to the Old Folks channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. We love to see how far our stories travel. The house was unusually silent that evening, too silent for a home that once echoed with laughter and music. I remember sitting by the kitchen table, tracing my finger around the rim of my teacup, while the clock ticked far too loudly against the wall. The air felt thick, heavy, as if something unseen was watching from the dark corners of the room. My daughter, Emily, hadn't spoken to me properly in days, only short, cold replies, her once bright eyes now distant and guarded. I told myself it was just teenage mood swings. But deep inside, a knot of dread began to form. I caught a whisper outside my door that night, her voice, trembling but cruel, "She's losing her mind." The words sank into me like ice. Was I really losing it, or was something else happening behind my back? The shifting glances. The next morning, I noticed how everyone looked at me differently, the neighbors, the cashier at the store, even my own sister. Their polite smiles had turned into tight, uneasy ones. Whispers seemed to follow me wherever I went. "Poor thing," someone muttered behind me once. "She's not well, you know." I began to wonder, who told them? Then, I saw Emily, standing with her friends across the street, glancing my way and laughing. When our eyes met, her smile vanished instantly, replaced by guilt, or was it fear? That's when it hit me, my daughter had been talking about me. But why would she do that? What could make my own child turn me into a stranger in my own town? The first crack in the mirror. That night, I tried to confront her. My voice was calm, though my hands trembled as I asked, "Emily, what have you been saying about me?" She didn't answer right away, just stared, cold and still. Then she said softly, "You wouldn't believe me even if I told you." Her tone sent a shiver down my spine. I wanted to ask more, but something in her eyes stopped me, a glint I'd never seen before, like she was hiding something dark. I went to bed with my heart pounding, the house echoing with silence again. Somewhere deep inside, I knew this was only the beginning, the calm before something I couldn't yet name. And as the lights flickered that night, I wondered, what was my daughter really hiding from me? The morning sun crept through the blinds, but the light felt wrong, dull and colorless. I walked through the house, feeling a strange emptiness, as if someone had quietly taken something away during the night. Emily's door was closed, and faint music leaked out, soft but haunting. I knocked gently, but there was no answer. I turned the handle, locked. My own daughter was locking me out now. I pressed my ear to the wood and heard her whispering. My name came up in a hushed, fearful tone, followed by something that made my stomach drop, "She's dangerous." Why would she say that about me? What story was she spinning behind that locked door? The missing diary. Later that day, I went looking for my journal, the one where I'd been writing about our life since her father passed away. But when I opened the drawer, it was gone. I searched every corner, even the attic, my pulse racing faster with each empty shelf. That diary held memories, but also truths. Arguments. Secrets. Pain. If someone read it without context, it could easily twist the story, twist me. I asked Emily if she'd seen it, and she only shrugged. "Maybe you misplaced it, Mom," she said, eyes cold and steady. But I knew I hadn't. Someone wanted to make me doubt myself, and it was working. The glimpse in the mirror. That night, while brushing my hair, I caught sight of a reflection behind me, a shadow, moving across the hallway. I turned quickly, but the hall was empty. Still, the feeling of being watched clung to me like smoke. I went to bed uneasy, but sleep never came. Around 2 a.m., I heard Emily's door creak open, her footsteps slow and deliberate. I held my breath, pretending to sleep, and listened as she paused by my door. The silence stretched, then she whispered something I could barely make out. "You'll see soon." And then, her footsteps faded into the dark. By the end of the week, the whispers weren't whispers anymore. People stopped inviting me to gatherings. Parents pulled their children away when I walked by. Someone even left a note on my porch, "Get help before it's too late." My hand shook as I read it. I tried calling my sister, but she sounded distant. Told us you've been confused lately," she said carefully. My heart broke in half. Confused? Me? No, something was wrong. Someone was painting me as unstable. And I finally realized Emily's lies had taken root. The confrontation at school. I went to her school, desperate to talk to her counselor. Maybe I could explain, maybe someone would listen. But when I arrived, I saw Emily in the hallway, surrounded by her friends, her eyes red as if she'd been crying. When she saw me, she stepped back like she was afraid. Everyone stared. "Mom, please don't cause a scene," she whispered, trembling just enough to make me look guilty. I froze. I could feel the teacher's eyes on me, pity mixed with judgment. It hit me, she'd made them all believe I was dangerous. The breaking point. When we got home, I lost control. "Why are you doing this to me?" I shouted, my voice cracking. Emily flinched, but her expression hardened. "You don't even remember, do you?" she whispered. My blood ran cold. "Remember what?" She didn't answer. Just walked away, leaving me shaking. That night, I sat in the dark living room, heart pounding, trying to remember what she meant. What did I forget? My mind was slipping, or maybe, someone was making me believe it was. The walls of my own home felt like they were closing in. A few nights later, while dusting the bookshelf, something fell behind it, a small black device, blinking faintly. I picked it up, a recording device. My breath caught in my throat. I pressed play. My voice filled the air, angry, distorted, out of context. It was a recording of me shouting after one of our arguments. But it had been edited. Chopped. Twisted to make me sound unhinged. Emily had been recording me. The realization. I sat there, trembling, as pieces began to fall into place. The whispers. The diary. The fear in her eyes, all part of something bigger. She'd been collecting evidence, but for what? I replayed the tape again and again, noticing the faint echo of laughter in the background. It wasn't just Emily. Someone else was involved. A friend? A teacher? My mind raced as the weight of betrayal pressed down on my chest. What was she planning to do with those recordings? The decision. That night, I decided to record her too. I hid my phone under the kitchen counter, camera facing the living room. I didn't know what I would catch, but I needed the truth, proof that I wasn't crazy. I sat in my room, waiting, pretending to sleep. Around midnight, I heard voices. Emily, and someone else. Male. Whispering. The sound of a drawer opening, my drawer. I held my breath, heart pounding. What were they looking for? The next morning, I checked the footage. My hand shook as I watched Emily and a boy, one of her classmates, going through my belongings. They found my spare bank card, my documents. Emily said, "Once she's in the hospital, it'll all be ours." My blood turned to ice. My own daughter was planning to have me declared insane, for money. The person I loved most was trying to erase me. The calm before the counterattack. I didn't cry. Not then. I felt something colder than sadness, clarity. I needed evidence, more than enough to expose her lies. So I began recording everything. Every conversation. Every whisper. I kept quiet, played the part of the broken, confused mother she wanted me to be. And all the while, I waited, for the perfect moment to strike. And when that moment came, she'd never see it coming. The gathering storm. Over the next few days, Emily noticed the change. She grew restless, paranoid even. She'd peek into my room at night, whispering under her breath. Once, I caught her standing outside my door at 3 a.m., holding her phone, recording. I pretended to sleep, though I could feel her eyes on me. Something in her face looked off. Cold. Calculating. That's when I realized she was spiraling deeper into her own darkness. And I wasn't the only one losing my mind anymore. I invited my sister and 2 neighbors over one evening, pretending I wanted to make peace. Emily didn't know I had set up my phone on the shelf, recording everything. I acted calm, smiling through the tension. Emily sat across from me, shifting uncomfortably. "I just want to talk," I said softly. She nodded, but her eyes darted around the room, uneasy. She knew something was off. The trap was already set. The unraveling. As we talked, I brought up the rumors, the lies. Emily denied everything, her voice sweet and innocent. "Mom's been confused," she said, glancing at the others. "She imagines things." My sister looked at me with pity, and that's when I pressed play. The recording of her and the boy filled the room, her voice cold, sharp. "Once she's in the hospital, it'll all be ours." Silence followed. And for the first time, Emily's face went pale. The collapse. She tried to explain, stammering, shaking her head, but it was too late. The truth was out. My sister gasped. The neighbors stared. I didn't say a word, I didn't have to. The recording said everything. Emily broke down, sobbing, begging me to forgive her. But forgiveness wasn't what I felt. Only the heavy, hollow ache of a mother who'd lost everything, even her child. And in that silence, the truth finally came home. After everyone left, the house felt emptier than it ever had before. The echo of the recording still lingered in the air, a ghostly replay of betrayal. I sat at the dining table, staring at the untouched teacups, the wilted flowers between us like a funeral offering. Emily had locked herself in her room again, sobbing until her voice went hoarse. I didn't chase her this time. I couldn't. The weight of what she'd done pressed on my chest like a stone. The rain outside began to fall harder, tapping on the windows like quiet applause. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not yet. The cracked portrait. Later that night, I passed the hallway where our family portrait hung, the one from when she was 10, smiling with missing teeth and hopeful eyes. I stopped, staring at it too long. Then I noticed the glass was cracked, a thin fracture running right through her face. My hands trembled. It wasn't cracked before. I whispered to myself, "Who are you now, Emily?" The lights flickered, the air grew colder. I felt something behind me, not a presence, but the chilling awareness of everything that had been broken between us. Some things, once shattered, never mend again. The confession door. Sometime after midnight, I heard her door open. Slow, hesitant steps came down the hall. I didn't move. She stopped behind me, voice trembling. "I didn't mean for it to go that far." Her words floated in the dark like smoke. I turned, meeting her tear-streaked face. "You tried to destroy me, Emily," I said quietly. She sobbed, "He made me do it." I frowned. "Who?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Mr. Cole." Her teacher. And that single name cracked everything wide open again. The next morning, I went to the school. The sky was gray, the halls empty except for faint echoes of lockers slamming. I found Mr. Cole's office door half open. He looked up, startled, when I stepped in. "Mrs. Hale, this is a surprise," he said smoothly. His smile didn't reach his eyes. My voice shook but stayed firm. "You've been talking to my daughter. Influencing her." He leaned back, hands clasped. "Teenagers exaggerate," he said. But his calmness, too calm, set my nerves ablaze. This man was hiding something. I could feel it. The slip. He tried to play innocent, but when I mentioned the recordings, something flickered in his eyes, fear, quickly masked. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, but his voice had lost its ease. On his desk, I noticed a small flash drive half-tucked beneath a paper. My pulse quickened. I reached for it, and he slammed his hand down over mine. "I think you should go now," he said, his tone low and dangerous. The air between us turned heavy, like the calm before a thunderclap. What was on that flash drive that made him so afraid? The escape. I left before he could call security. My hands trembled as I clutched my bag, my heart thudding so loud I could hear it. Once outside, I sat in the car, staring at the school through the rain. Everything pointed to him, the manipulation, the fear, the lies fed to my daughter. I started the engine, whispering to myself, if he won't give me the truth, I'll take it. That night, I returned. Lights off. Windows dark. And for the first time in years, I felt no fear. Only purpose. The rain had stopped by the time I slipped through the side door of his office. The building was silent, only the hum of old lights above. My flashlight beam shook as I searched his desk. Papers. Photos. Notes about Emily, detailed, obsessive notes. He'd been following her for months, twisting her grief into a weapon against me. My stomach turned. Then, at the bottom drawer, I found it, the same flash drive. And that's when the truth finally spoke. The recordings. Back home, I plugged it into my laptop. My hands went numb as I listened. Recordings of Emily's therapy sessions, ones I never authorized. Mr. Cole's voice coaching her, convincing her that I was delusional, that I'd hurt her, that she needed to act first. Each clip was colder than the last, his tone gentle but poisonous. The last recording ended with his words, "Once she's gone, you'll be safe." I sat frozen, my world collapsing. My daughter wasn't evil. She was manipulated. But the monster wasn't done yet. The call. I picked up my phone and dialed the police, but as it rang, I saw headlights flash through the window, a car pulling into the driveway. Mr. Cole. My blood ran cold. I turned off the lights, clutching the phone to my chest. The sound of footsteps on the porch made my heart stop. The door handle rattled once, twice. Then silence. I backed away slowly, whispering, "You won't win." And then, the door creaked open. He stepped inside, rain dripping from his coat, eyes wild. "Where is it?" he hissed. My phone trembled in my hand. "It's over," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. He lunged toward me, grabbing my wrist, trying to snatch the flash drive. The struggle sent us crashing into the table, shattering glass. I screamed, not in fear, but fury. The phone slipped from my hand but stayed recording. Every second of that fight was captured. The sirens. When he realized I wouldn't let go, he ran. The front door slammed, tires screeched. I crawled to my phone, shaking, pressing send before collapsing against the wall. Within minutes, blue lights painted the house in flashes of justice. The officers stormed in, voices shouting, footsteps echoing. I gave them the drive, my body numb, my mind hollow. For the first time in months, I felt the air clear. The truth had finally found its way out. The last recording. Days later, Emily sat across from me, her eyes red, guilt heavy in her voice. "I'm sorry, Mom," she whispered. I took her hand. "It wasn't your fault." She nodded, tears falling silently. On the table between us lay the flash drive, the one that destroyed and saved us all. I pressed play one last time, listening not to the words, but to the silence that followed. It was the sound of peace. Of endings. And of a mother finally believed. Sometimes, the cruelest thing you can do to someone is tell them their truth isn't real. They make you question your mind, your heart, even your memories. Until you start apologizing for what you know. But the truth doesn't fade. It waits. In silence. In patience. And when it finally speaks, it doesn't shout, it echoes. My daughter hasn't spoken to me since that night. But I sleep peacefully now. Because I know, and she knows. That madness wasn't in my mind. It was in her lies.